On this week's episode of Marketing O'Clock,
we cover all you need to know about Google's SGE.
We see what's good under the SGE's hood.
I go Clint Leastwood, covering all the bad of SGE.
And then it gets real ugly, and no, your mom isn't here.
All on today's show.
Welcome, you are listening to Marketing O'Clock. Just stay tuned. Digital marketing news, but let's get specific. Digital ads, SEO and analytics, social media and more. Pretty much everything that'll make your website perform. With new shows every Friday. We give you the news with sass and puns and definitely hot takes. Thank you for tuning in. You know what time it is. It's officially Marketing O'Clock. Settle in, sit back, keep it locked.
Hey there, I'm Greg Finn.
I'm Jessica Lee Budd.
I'm Nicole Waddington.
And it is officially Marketing O'Clock.
Here on June 2nd, 2023. Happy June, everybody.
Happy June.
Nicole, what you been up to?
So, weather is beautiful here in Buffalo, and this weekend, I was with a friend. We were walking through Delaware Park. It's a beautiful park here in Buffalo. Always crazy people and things you encounter in this park. And we were walking, and all of a sudden, I hear this guy go, "You're going to hit a boulder." And we look up.
I got it. It's coming right for us.
It's not really where cars are supposed to be. It's like a bike trail. And he drove on it, and then he drove over a big rock. You know those rocks that are trying to prevent people from cutting corners on the grass?
Yeah.
Trying to stop
Trying
cars.
to stop a car.
Stopping the cars that aren't supposed to be there. And new BMW it looked like. So really nice car. And we weren't close enough to see it, but he was definitely on the side of his car was on the rock. And he couldn't open his door. I'm like, oh no, he's in quite a pickle. How is he gonna get his car off this rock? So he starts to back up and move forward to try to get the car off of the rock, and it was not working. So he gets out of the car, drops it low, starts trying to pull the rock away from the car.
That is gonna kill. That's how you lose your head.
Exactly, right? And it's like a cartoon, when the cartoon characters try to open the door and they're putting all their body weight in and the door is not budging. That is what it was like watching this guy try to move this rock from under his car.
Did he move it?
Yeah.
He did.
What?
He rolled it, but it took a couple of minutes.
By himself. Nobody helped.
Yeah.
No.
So he
that's
got
all
the
under
weight
himself.
of a car off of a rock and moved
Yeah.
it.
It must have kind of been not completely over it, but how it caught the edge of the door.
I just feel like this was Superman.
Yeah, did you get a business card? I needed
Yeah.
a trainer.
I should have. I didn't want to embarrass him even more because he could definitely tell we were looking at him
And not helping.
Yeah.
Not that, that was a safe choice that you made, but I just feel like somebody yelled, "You're going to hit the thing," and then ran? Does not help. Wow.
Well, there's a picture that Tables can put up. It's a little hard to see, but quite entertaining.
You had to stay back so you didn't get involved.
Yeah.
Awesome. And thanks for everybody for tuning in last week. Tables had an awesome thumbnail on YouTube, and something I thought was funny is we had a comment. We were trying to make a YMCA version of GML, but we had a comment from Hillary Bliss that said, "I read the letters as FML." LOL. So I thought that was great. And we've got a lot of news again this week from Google. But before we get there, today's show is brought to you by Wix. You probably already know Wix is one of the best tools out there for building beautiful websites with 900 plus strategically designed templates that you can choose from. But they're more than that. They have built SEO into the core of Wix. They've got advanced SEO tools. One we'll talk about a little bit later. And they are SEO first, right? They have an SEO learning hub that you can go and see. Wix.com/SEO/learn. They arguably have the best SEO podcast with Morty Oberstein and Crystal Carter. SERP's Up. There was a new one today. It was on international SEO. I'm definitely going to tune in, see if they talk about SGE as well. And they also have webinars as well. So there's a webinar coming up in June 27th, and you can join Morty and Crystal, and they're going to talk about SEO competitor backlinks analysis with the one and only Ahrefs Patrick Stocks and Dialpad's Debbie Chu, and you're going to be able to see how you can reverse engineer your competitors' backlinking strategy. If you need a website, you need Wix. Wix.com, Wix.com, Wix.com. Thank you, Wix. All right. And if you haven't gotten access to Google's new search generative experience, this is the AI-driven new format that Google is launching out, where you can choose to turn on the generative results and have what Google will curate from you, basically kind of curating from the entire web here. You can go try to sign up for it if you haven't already. It's labs.google.com, and you can get in on the action. We are in on the action here, and we're going to do a little bit of the good, the bad, and the ugly from what we've seen out here with SGE. So Nicole, why don't you start with the good?
Yeah, so starting with the good, you'll see on the screen if you're watching this that Greg provided some nice screenshots of what this experience looks like, and definitely trolling here because the first example he searches, why do people turn the color off their phones?
How is that trolling? Oh, wait, you do that all the time.
I'm back in color, people, but you know, this generative AI experiment does have some interesting things to say about that question. It says that it removes positive reinforcement and dampens that urge to keep loading up social media feeds or mobile games. So there you go.
Yeah.
And mobile games.
And
Like
speaking
Candy
of
Crush.
grayscale and color, this pop of color I actually really liked after a while. Like, I think it's something you typically don't see that much in the SERPs. Like there used to be color with ads, like in those blue and green and yellow borders, but I thought this was done pretty tastefully.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that it definitely looks different from just the regular SERP. So you know that you're in an experiment or you're getting answers that are generative AI and not necessarily factual. It does have the generative AI is experimental, info quality may vary, disclosure up at the top. It also is cool that if you're a publisher and can get your site featured in one of the top 3 thumbnails on desktop, that could be an interesting way to get more traffic to your site. However, Greg will get into this later, nothing's really clickable here. So
Right. And I thought the example about the cell phone was a really was where you can see it excel, right? It's almost like a better quick answer in a way, where at least in this one, there's a detailed response. It cites some specific people, and then it pulls in to the right where they stole the content from, essentially.
Yeah, and Glenn Gabe also did a nice Twitter thread summing up a lot of the features of this, and one of the things he mentioned was it does cover your money, your life content, which people were saying they didn't know if it was going to include that. And he also mentioned that SGE will show up as Google Organic when you're looking at GA4 data.
I mean, I hope so. Good to confirm.
And Greg also provided another example where he searched, what does it mean when someone likes to listen to Slipknot all day?
I could tell you what that means. They're a very intelligent, driven, smart, gentle, kind, loving person.
Let's hear from generative AI.
Yeah, generative AI. It could mean that someone likes the unique sound of Slipknot. Slipknot is an American heavy metal band. Their sound is described as suffocating, with layered percussion that can be intoxicating.
100%. This is accurate information.
I think you'll agree with this next one, Jess. Slipknot is one of the biggest metal bands of all time. They've sold out arenas, topped the Billboard 200, and never released a bad album.
I like they couldn't even make the Billboard 100 with that crap.
First
They
of
have
all,
12 members too many.
okay, listen. You want it to be 0? They have never released a bad album. I would agree with that. They have released some bad songs, but I think anything that can suffocate you without actually suffocating you is like total bonus, right? Good life hack. Listen to Slipknot, kids. It's good for your health.
Yeah, and then one last thing in the good is I didn't think those color switches seemed like distracting. I thought in the examples that they showed at Google I/O that it would be kind of off-putting, but I thought it was actually really fine. I didn't seem to notice it at all. So again, like that execution as well, Nicole. Okay, on to some of the bad. I don't think that they can launch this in its current form because there is a substantial lack of links. And it's not, I'm not talking about it as like an SEO or a publisher. I'm talking about it as just a usability standpoint. If you go through and you type in something like, what are the best digital marketing podcasts? Obviously they got this one wrong, but they have a whole slew of all these different items there. And you can say, oh, maybe I want to go look at, marketing school that's at the top of the list. You can't click on it. So in this current version, this is obviously bad for publishers. And you can see why SEOs across the planet that are eligible to get this don't like it. But it's also horrific for anybody actually trying to get somewhere, right? That's
Just as a user.
That's the whole point of Google, is to get people to where they want to go. And in this case, they're surfacing some of that information. It's hard to see where it's coming from, and it's hard to get there, which is just a bad experience overall, in my opinion. If you want to, there is kind of like a little, I don't know what it is, like a little page icon in the upper right. And you can see a little bit more of where some of the picks came from, but it's not overly helpful. Like, you still can't jump in, and I still can't get to the marketing school podcast. So I think that that's one thing that definitely needs to change. Another example here for the best digital marketing podcast in 2023, they show the actual name of the podcast, the description that's being pulled from what I assume is the same way they're pulling podcast information now, the icons of each podcast. And these things look way more clickable than the other example that was pulling in like an unordered list. This looks like something that is rich data, and you cannot click on it. It is, in order to get here, you're going to have to expand things. You're going to have to see where each one of these came from. It's just a terrible experience for getting people to where they need to go. So I think in that case, it's never going to launch in this format, or at least I sure hope not. Additionally, I think one of the biggest hits is going to be people that have helpful information that may not necessarily sell something immediately there, right? So I looked up an example of what soccer ball should I buy for a U9 team. And if you look at the main Google results, there are all these very helpful pieces of content that break down the size, the weight. Once you get to 12 years old, you go here. Those still exist, but in the upper corner. And the information is ripped from those pages and placed above a slew of products using that product graph that Google has. So I think everybody who's been making content to be helpful, to be able to answer those questions, if somebody else can swipe in and sell something, I think that's going to be a huge hit. Like these 3 examples here, they made infographics, they talked about everything, and they are going to get smoked if this launches in this format. Okay, another thing that was very odd is that Lily Ray, at Lily Ray NYC on Twitter, asked the question, is there a reason SGE wouldn't want to encourage users to buy directly from a brand, recommending Amazon and Facebook first? Seriously? She was looking to put it in to buy Fluvlogs? I guess that's the name of a shoe. Fluvlog? Anyway, it's fluvlog.com is where you buy Fluvlogs, right? And so she put in that very specific query with shopping intent, like purchase intent. And it says you can buy shoes at New York or Brooklyn, and it gives addresses of New York and Brooklyn. She's probably there, so that does make sense. And then it says you can also buy Fluvlog shoes on Amazon or Facebook. And that's a terrible experience, right? Like that's on the side of not just taking that content and maybe not getting a click. That's egregious, where you're now saying go to Amazon where there's like lower margin. And all these things are probably going to get worked out, hopefully. But this is, again, they cannot launch with this, I'd say.
The whole thing is very weird. They give you an address, a rating, and some say they're expensive.
Yeah.
Thanks. Thanks for putting that in a bullet list for me.
Don't say that about my brand. People want it.
Others say that they're fun to look for.
How do you know what the value of a Fluvlog is, Google?
I mean, I don't.
All right. Lily had another one where she said that Google was directly plagiarizing content. She put in a query saying, how long does it take to get over a breakup? SGE said, it can take anywhere from 6 weeks to 3 months to forever to get over a breakup. The length of time depends on how intense the relationship was, blah, blah, blah. And Lily goes on to find the exact quote from Jane Greer, PhD, over on women's health. And of course, it is not attributed to women's health. Yes, there are links in the upper corner, but if you look at something like the new Bing chat, when it sources something, they underscore and allow you to link to see where that came from. And to me, Google's SGE experience for users, for publishers, for SEOs will all be helped if they implement that. I don't want to look through 3 different sources in the upper right to try to figure out which one I liked a piece of content from. Right. Get me to the thing that was interesting. There's also a bit of back and forth, and I believe Danny from his @SearchLiaison account had said, well, you can clearly see it. And you clearly can't. I'm here to say, I have good vision now with these glasses. I clearly can't see where the stuff comes from. I understand there's a workaround. You can click on the upper right. And you can try to find
using that,
Nobody's
though.
going to do that. It's not clear. There's no citations. It is not clear. It is not clear. And then at one point he had tweeted, if a generative response involves a direct snippet from a page, we highlight the source as part of our set of corroborative links. In this example, the first link matches that and also shows an expanded view, which he then deleted. So there's a whole bunch of back and forth. There is absolutely no way that it's clear where the content comes from. Okay, another bad example here. Lily had also put in a search for just the term Nike, right? That's a pretty easy one. You know, you might want a little bit about the history, maybe some star athletes, maybe it's something about Air, the movie, and you can see something that's popular out there. So generative AI says Nike is a multinational corporation that designs, develops, manufactures, and sells footwear, blah, 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 very basic, 3 sentences. And then to the right, it says the 8 best CrossFit shoes of 2023. It's got a Wikipedia page, and then you can go to Run Repeat to see the 40 plus colors of the Nike Blazer Mid. And then underneath it is just a product graph of various Nike shoes, most of which seem overpriced by about $30, and no link to Nike.
Some say they're expensive.
Well, these are expensive. You shouldn't be paying $130 for the high top blazer. One last thing on, I would say the bad is Glenn Gabe saw, well, I guess Barry Schwartz saw it, and then Glenn Gabe retweeted it. Go follow Glenn Gabe on Twitter and Barry Schwartz, saying that the Google search generative experience ends in December 2023. So hopefully, you know, if it's ending, maybe it's ending forever. I just don't like the fact that there's no citations. I think it's an amateur move.
It's just going to end just in time for the holidays. So where there's good, there's bad. And where there's bad, there is ugly. And I'm so glad you saved this for me. Earmuffs, children, and sensitive folks. Lily Ray shared another example. She searched for 10 dirty jokes.
Of course you picked this.
I did not pick this. This was assigned to me. And y'all thought titter was bad. It gets worse. First of all, some of these jokes offer the punchline, others do not.
I love that about it.
So it's just really good. Regardless of the content, it's a very consistent experience. Not. But, you know, for entertainment's sake, one of them says, how did you quit smoking? And the punchline is, I decided to start smoking only after sex, which is really cute. What's the difference between a tire and 365 used condoms? One's a good year, the other is a great year.
Jessica.
I know. This is all just, it's right here. And my favorite, because I had to look it up, this one does not have a punchline. It just says, why can't Miss Piggy count to 70? Did either of you look this
I'd imagine there's something to do with a number that precludes it.
You would think, but I didn't know how. And so, can I say it?
Sure.
I Googled it. Why can't Miss Piggy count to 70? Because every time she reaches, get it?
Thank you. Thanks. We needed that clarity.
I'm dying. There's so much joy. But this is useless.
Google shouldn't be saying
Google
this.
should not.
Yeah.
Should not be. Consistent experience would be nice. Like if you're going to provide the answers and whatever. Also, that's like way down the list, but it's the first result that you can click on the side.
And some of it like actually promotes like violent. Like there's violent ones in there. It's not a good look.
Yeah,
for
I mean there are things. It's a family show, so we're keeping it NC-17. Lily tweeted, "This is fine," and I concur. Whatever.
Okay, so a quick conclusion here. Ross Hudgens, at Ross Hudgens on Twitter, had a bunch of good examples and takes as well. He said, "This might be the SEO bias in me talking, but after testing Google's new experience for an hour or so, I don't see how it's better than the current one on 95% of the queries I did. Feels like it conflicts or duplicates many amazing features that are already built, presenting the information in a B- way. It's in beta, yes, so it can improve, but it seems like a better route would simply be add a chat with AI tab that brings people to Bard for longer tail queries that also warrant in-depth answers versus changing the current experience." I would say this is like a D+.
I was gonna say B- is very high.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. It's kind of fun, but if I need something, I'm not using this. I can't get to anything.
It is not quicker to get to, if you really look at it, it is not a quicker way to information because you can't get anywhere.
I agree. The whole point of it is I want information, and I don't want information that I don't know who it's from. And with this, there is no way to tell what is coming from where, from who, and how it got there. So I don't like it. Maybe I'll give it a D. And then if you want some more on the conclusion standpoint, Aleda Solis has a good article over on her site, aledasolis.com, and she's got a bunch of initial thoughts as well. So, yeah, overall, it looks cool. I mean, it's just not ready yet. But I think if you were to take a bunch of these, put citations in, get people to where they want to go faster, not make something like when you search for what is the best CRM software and you get a list of these things that look clickable and you can't go anywhere. Like, they're going to improve on this. And the number one way to improve on it is to get people where they want to go. And the key is they don't want to go to SGE. They want you to help them get to where they want to go. You are not the final destination. You are a resource to help guide them to the answer. And that's the way to fix it. And I think they actually will.
Now it's time for this week's Take of the Week. This is a #fire digital marketing take with extra spice served up for you. We simply deliver the take for your consumption. We give no opinions. We don't influence. You make the call.
This week's Take of the Week comes from Ross Hudgens, at Ross Hudgens on Twitter. And again, if you want a good to follow on SGE, follow Ross, he's a great guy. Ross says, "Google, low cumulative layout shift is important, period. Also Google." And he shows an example of SGE generating and then displaying everything and pushing it all down. So do as I say, not as I do.
Now it's time for this week's ICYMI.
ICYMI, people.
This is something you just might not have seen. Maybe something that you overlooked, but you shouldn't have.
This week's ICYMI comes from Sarah Stemmen at Runner Kick on Twitter. She says, "Well, I learned something new today that is confusing. There's a difference between the store visits column and the store visits as a conversion action. Apparently, each one has a different look back window setting. Be careful, people."
Now it's time for this week's Pew Pew Lightning Round. At this point in the show, we split up our content into 3 parts: paid, organic, and social.
First up in the paid universe, Andrew Hutchinson on social media today reported on Instagram adding search ad placements to its marketing API. So with this new update, third-party social management platforms will be able to facilitate Instagram search ad creation, providing another means to help more marketers tap into new opportunities in the app. So the new capacity will also enable ad analytics, so platforms like Hootsuite, Sprout Social, for example, will be able to provide full ad creation and analysis capacity within their management apps. Boris Beserick at Boris Beserick on Twitter had a recent discovery for discovery campaigns in Google Ads. He says, "Wow, creating a new discovery campaign, and it won't let me publish unless I enable optimized targeting." And he has a screenshot there with a giant fix it button to click. And then he also said, "P.S. I enabled optimized targeting and it still won't let me publish unless I adjust the budgeting or targeting. WTF."
I ran into today with display campaigns too, where I was choosing a segment. It's like, optimize will be turned on. It's like, then why do you offer the segment?
Right.
I want the segment. You're giving me the segment. and there's no way to turn it off. If you switch to your customer match list, it turns off, or you can turn it off. But it's like, if you're just going to take it away, don't just show me. I can't do anything about it.
Yeah, that's nuts.
And Andrew Ferris at Andrew J. Ferris on Twitter. And Andrew Ferris at Andrew J. Ferris on Twitter wrote, it's probably a good idea to be spending on branded search, but nearly every Google Ads account I look at is meaningfully overspending on it. Do this. 1. Bid target ROAS. 2. If your search impression share is over 80%, raise it by at least 100 points. If it's over 90%, 200. 3. Repeat forever. And then Dennis Moons at Dennis Moons replies, interesting that you call out branded search overspending together with target ROAS. In most of our tests, that's the combo that overspends on CPCs. For example, spending 3 to 5 per click when you could spend 50 to 70% less with the same outcome.
I don't like that advice that he gave. You just keep raising it? That's stupid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You're
just going
is it a joke?
Get Google to spend more.
Yeah, I think to me, that's the biggest takeaway is like, brand search is a necessary evil. Don't listen to Ben Kruger. Like, you need to try to spend enough to protect yourself, but not to overspend on high CPCs.
And speaking of Ben Kruger, there was a conversation happening over on Twitter with Kirk Williams, Ben Kruger, and Menahem Ani about predictions on the future of keywords in Google Ads. So Kirk Williams wrote, do I think Google will use conversational AI to get rid of keywords for bidding? Absolutely. Do I think that should actually happen? Nah, I don't think selecting certain words to bid on is outdated. Even conversational search is composed of words, especially, quote, key ones. And then Ben Kruger added, it's going to be more about using keywords as themes to guide them to show your relevant ad. Broad match, PMAX asset groups, landing page content are all signals for the theme. And then finally, Menahem Ani jumped in and said, my guess, phrase or exact match will be removed in the near future. There will only be broad match. Mind blow emoji.
I mean, he's not wrong. That's going to happen.
Mm-hmm. Even that, it'll likely move to more of keyword themes as referenced in this thread. And he references Ben Kruger's thread earlier.
Cool. And I'm going to go back to the last one, just to give you some tactical tips if you're trying to spend less with a certain bid strategy. With Microsoft, if you have something like target ROAS, you can put a max CPC in there. It's like built out of the gate. So you're good on Microsoft. You might want to say, on average, this is how much I'm paying for my branded search terms when I'm bidding eCPC. Let's go a little higher than that when I switch to TROAS, but have your maximum there. And then you can also set maximum bids if you use a portfolio bid strategy in Google Ads. It's the only way you can do it. So you have to set a portfolio bid strategy, set a max, you can set a min as well, and then you can use that and apply it to a campaign. So when I say you got to spend less, there are ways that you can try to do that. Again, test, experiment, and see what works for you. But it's a portfolio bid strategy in Google Ads, and Microsoft comes right out of the gate with TROAS.
And now on to highlights from PPC chat on Twitter from this week. Ginny Marvin, Google Ads liaison, was taking some questions. And first up, there was a question from @MelSearchThings who asked, if my competitors and I are all using generative AI to create our creatives, how does Google ensure we won't get similar copies? Great question. And Ads Liaison said, all of the AI generated is grounded in your inputs like website and what you input into the conversational experience. The more unique details you use to guide and inform the AI, the more likely the generated ad assets will be unique. And then Derek Mullins at PPC ClickShark jumped in on this thread and asked, what if I do not use a website? Many times I just use a single high converting page. And Ginny said, then it will use that page as an input as well as any other inputs you add, including what you enter in the conversational experience. And just a reminder, this is opt-in and you'll be able to review and revise any assets created in the conversational experience. So that's big, giving advertisers more control. We love that. Ginny adds further, you'll be able to review and revise suggested ads created in the conversational experience and new asset creation flow for PMAX to ensure they reflect your brand voice. Advertisers can view reporting on ACA and remove assets they no longer want to serve.
Yeah. And I think Julie's initial question is a great one. Like, I see it with RSAs, and you see it with DSAs now. And I've talked about it all the time. I talked about it last week. You can spot a DSA a mile away. Some of the new PMAX stuff looks better. RSAs, you cannot be super creative with them. You have 25 characters. You can do certain things, but you cannot write beautiful ads. And I don't know how this wouldn't just make everything look like a uniform mess. It's using everybody else's ad data to try to make ad data for you. It's everything's going to look the same. It's not good. This is why when everybody's zigging, you should be the one zagging.
And then we had a question that Julie Baccini posed in PPC chat this week, which was, what was the most concerning or disappointing thing announced at Google Marketing Live this week? And Chris Ridley answered, other than legal aspects of stock images, mine would be how the conversational AI experience will impact Google Ads data and performance. So for example, if a user searches push bike and has a conversation with Google AI in the SERP, which includes correct size for a child, color options, stabilizers, etc., and finally pricing, what would we see in Google Ads for search term reporting for the keyword push bike? Great question, Chris. And then he also adds, could the keyword push bike have multiple search terms for the same user journey? So in my example, could the single journey generate search terms in the report for push bike for kids, push bike for kid sizes, if all met the privacy thresholds, or is it one per search? And Ginny responds, that's correct. If your ads show for all of these searches or queries within this journey, and they meet the privacy thresholds, each search term will be reported.
That's good.
That's interesting too, though, when you think about the math. Because everybody, a lot of time, I mean, I know that they don't do it so much anymore, but people were looking at impressions versus clicks and things like that. And I feel like you're going to get a click from one, but you might have shown up multiple times throughout the journey. So just something to think about.
Can we also just talk for a minute how our boy Chris thinks that a bike is like a bobsled? You got to push this thing? Bro, you ride the bike.
And finally, there were some questions about brand controls for broad match that were announced at Google Marketing Live. And Melissa Mackey at Beyond the Paid said, advertisers want to drop brand from PMAX campaigns, not a tool to turn broad match into brand campaigns. And what's to stop an advertiser from making sure they show up on competitor brands? And Ginny replied, there are two different features. Campaign level brand exclusions in PMAX are currently in beta. And she links to the support article on Google. At Google Marketing Live, we announced controls for using broad match in brand campaigns. This doesn't impact how bidding on other brand terms works.
Today's SEO lightning round is brought to you by Wix. You've already heard me talk about it earlier in the show, but Wix is one of the best tools out there for building websites. Yes, they have over 900 beautiful templates, but they also have thousands of drag and drop features that you can implement right on your website. They have Search Console data right in your SEO dashboard. Of course, they do webinars, podcasts, any type of media you want, they've got it. But let's talk quick about a feature that doesn't even really need a teacher to use.
Cease and desist.
You can bulk edit the SEO settings of individual main pages within Wix. You can do so on the Edit by Page tab in SEO settings. You can reset the title tag, the meta description, the indexing status if you need to take a section down or if you had some problems. You can all do it in bulk. Like I said before, Wix is built with beauty, with functionality, and with SEO. So check that out if you are a Wix user, and you can make bulk edits to individual main pages right within the SEO settings. It's no surprise that 220 million people choose Wix to power their websites. If you need a site, you need Wix. Wix.com, Wix.com, Wix.com. All right, and first up in the organic news here, Google Search Console was delayed for over 60 plus hours. It was fixed on Thursday. So if you were looking at Search Console and didn't see any updates, I don't know what just happened there. Maybe all the resources are going to SGE, but it is back up. A kind of big new announcement was that Google has a new search system named Topic Authority that will help relevant expert and knowledgeable content show in Google Search and Google News. According to Google, this will help determine which expert sources are helpful to someone's newsy query in certain specialized topic areas such as health, politics, or finance. So here's how it works. Google will look at the notability of a source for its topic or location. And if Google thinks something is especially relevant to topics or location, it may get a boost. Influential and original reporting. Google says they can understand how original the reporting is from a publication by looking at links, citations, and other area, and then just the reputation of the source. Google can look at the history of high quality reporting and recommendations from expert sources to see that reputation. Here's an example that was provided by Google. Get your capris ready, folks. All right. Here, somebody types in, there was a flood where you lived. So the topic authority signal helps us identify content from publications in the region that regularly cover topics in your city and town and surface them towards the top of your search results. These are likely familiar publications that are trusted voices in the community, even though larger national outlets may be covering the flood as well. I like that. Like, you don't want somebody just regurgitating news. I want the boots on the ground, or I guess the waiters on the ground.
Yeah, I love that you just brought up capris. I was wondering the other day if they're still in fashion. They're not, right?
Well, I mean, what happens when we got a flood?
Where you lived?
Yeah, I got to bring them out. Okay, Google is now, we got more AI. They're now treating the .ai domain as a top-level generic domain. So it has been added to the list of GTLDs, and it's along the side of .com, .org, .edu, .gov. So it is now, I believe it was a country that might have been like Albania or something like that. Might be incorrect, but it is now.
Anguilla?
Anguilla?
It says it right here. I don't know how to say it.
Oh, Anguilla. It's no longer that, I guess. So if you're trying to target people in Anguilla, I don't know what you're going to do, because AI is now a generic top-level domain. And if you're looking for domain help, I would say you could now consider that. YouTube Stories are shutting down on June 26th as the company is focusing on shorts, according to TechCrunch.
What is the difference? One expires.
Alternate news, YouTube Stories was still around. I just love how they just run after the shiniest object. Do you remember that when Instagram had IGTV and they're like,
yeah,
oh, we really just want long form video. And now everybody's like, oh, it's stories. And now Google's just going all in on shorts. And then it's funny. Elon's like, oh, you can like upload 20 hours of video HD. And everybody's like, what are you doing? Like,
he's zigging when they're zagging. Also, why be all in on shorts when you could be all in on capris?
I'm with you. Okay, keeping it here with YouTube from my boy, Neil Mohan. He says, check out the updated revenue tab in analytics. We've recently added new ways at YouTube creators to find a breakdown of how much they're earning by revenue source. You can see things like supers, you can see shorts, revenue, all that stuff. So nice way, and it actually looks pretty cool. Bing is teasing a new upgrade in Bing Webmaster Tools that will have Bing chat reporting, according to Barry Schwartz over on Search Engine Roundtable. And this was just the weirdest screenshot flex that Fabrice shared out here. Tables, put this up on the video here. It is like the most pixelated version of something. And like I was like, oh, this is so cool. It's Bing Chat. It's like, bro, I don't know what this is. And I know charts.
I know what this is.
This is not enough to really get a vibe on a chart.
What do you mean?
I can't vibe check this chart.
It's a piece of land.
It's not. I need more.
You talking about
Fabrice? I need more. But it is cool that they're already thinking about how to get chat into that Search Console or Webmaster. It still is called.
I mean, it looks like Search Console.
Bing Webmaster Tools. Everybody's retired the word Webmaster, but Microsoft. Okay, and from Barry here, this I thought was interesting for people that might not be very tech savvy or may have moved on from Google Analytics. In Search Console, you can now see some pages that people landed on, even if you don't have analytics on your site. So you can see that this bakingaddict.com got traffic from the strawberry crepe cake. It's where I'd assume the landing page was, or the pages in your Search Console report show. So it's kind of like a mini analytics if you just really don't care about your website.
What are these images? You think they have those for everybody's
No.
page about everything? There's a hamburger for hamburger bread.
No,
Like-
somebody's whipping these icons up themselves.
This is amazing.
And from Charles Farina at Charles Farina on Twitter, he says, "RIP Firebase dynamic links. When Google deprecated the Google URL shortener service, they pushed everyone to Firebase dynamic links, and Firebase dynamic links will be shut down. You'll have 12 months from the announcement. It'll be around the end of Q2 2023. We'll have more information. So your new and existing links will continue to work until it is shut down. So we probably got a year on that." All right. From Search Engine Land, according to the DeepMind founder, they say Google search of today won't exist in 10 years. No sh**.
It won't exist in 10 days. Have you met the internet? Have you listened to our show?
Okay. Maybe it will, though, if you're in the EU, because from Rob Lathern on Twitter, he says, Google chose to not make Bard available in the EU when it recently expanded to 180 countries. As of now, the EU might be on course to miss out on the AI boom entirely, because all the restrictions and regulations, the EU is now not getting all the cool features because it doesn't adhere to their very stringent privacy. So I guess maybe it'll look the same in 10 years across the pond, as they say. And that's it in organic. What's happening in social, bud?
All right. First up in social this week, Snapchat has an enhanced version of their AR tool, the Try-On Lens. So this isn't net new, but it's an improved experience that's more responsive and realistic, which is cool. This initial launch is in partnership with OPI. They make nail polish, Greg. Per Snapchat's AR new nail polish Try-On technology will apply polish and other 2D effects directly to a Snapchatter's fingernail. Brands can precisely add textures and designs or track 2D color to a user's individual nail, creating a seamless try-on experience for the consumer. And anytime that I deviate from my basic black, it doesn't look how I think it's going to. So I feel like if I use Snapchat, which I don't, this would be really useful. And I think the better we can get at this, just in general, this technology, the better we can sling our that we're trying to sell and get people to buy in. So I don't hate it.
I personally, this is going to show my ignorance here. If you see a color or something, don't you just know what that color is?
No.
It looks different.
It looks different in the bottle, even in person next to your hand, than when you actually paint it.
Skin tone.
The amount of coats you apply. It'd be nice if they showed you, like, if you're a lazy person, this is what one coat looks like.
That's a great idea.
You know what I mean? If you paint over it 6 times because you're also lazy and don't redo it, this is what it'll look like. Like, this is good.
So many considerations.
This is good. What they need is, I want to see this with like just a set of new teeth. Because I was jerking at the gym the other day and I chipped another tooth.
Well, no, you got your lip covering it. You're not even showing me your tooth. I can see 0 of your teeth when you do that.
Yeah.
No. Greg, you're pointing at your lip.
No, my tooth.
Open your mouth. Oh.
See?
Yeah.
I chipped it.
Snatch did that?
Jerked it.
Hate that.
Right into my chin. Well, that'd be cool if you could just see like what veneers would look like. Because I'm going to need them. I'm not going to have teeth.
All right. Up next, Meta is set to sell Jiffy to Shutterstock for $53 million, which sounds like a good chunk of change. But if you don't recall, which I didn't back in 2020, not all that long ago, they bought it for $315 million. So they lost money on that deal, and it is expected to close next month. This is from Jesse Baines, LinkedIn news editor. It comes by way of Mark Williams Cook at the Taffer Boy on Twitter, who noted in this post that GIFs have fallen out of fashion and are viewed as for boomers and cringe by young users. And Mark says he's feeling attacked, as am I. GIFs cannot be overused. They are like puns. Everyone loves them and wants more and more and more all the time. And if you want to share one out on your profile, a new report from Sprout Social can help you find the best time to post said GIF. In general, the TLDR is that the best times to post on social media during the week tend to be on the earlier side of the day. The best days of the week are Tuesday and Wednesday. The worst is Sunday. That's very general, broad information. If you manage any social accounts, I highly recommend that you actually check the report out because they break things down by industry as well as platform-specific insights and metrics. So if you want to post on LinkedIn versus Facebook and looking for the most engagement, obviously there's different days and times that are better for that. The link will be in the usual places, community.marketingclock.com or marketingclock.com/newsletter. So check that out. It's really insightful. And finally here, Twitter is putting the API in Rejoice with a new lower cost access tier called Pro. And not only do I actually know how to spell, I don't think anyone's actually rejoicing over this either. It's still $5K a month. It's nice to have options, I suppose, but you get 1 million tweets per month at the app level, 300,000 tweets per month posting limit at the app level, 3 app IDs. You can log in with Twitter. We'll have the graphic up. You can see all the different plans. The enterprise just says monthly subscription tiers. We know it's very expensive. Everybody's was different. So looks like $5K a month if you want to play and get involved. I don't know. It's a lot of money for some folks. Now it's time for this week's WTH.
Misguided.
I hated all of that.
Like, who does that?
Just get rid of it.
Where we rant, rave, and roll our eyes about a trending digital marketing topic.
What are we coming to?
Honestly, see what had us asking
T.
this week. Not to feed a fed horse, because we've talked a lot of AI at length, but here's a tweet from Anthony Higman at Anthony Higman. So Google's official AI disclaimer says, do not, caps lock, rely on this for medical, legal, financial, or other professional services. Yet this lady on Marketing Live just gave an example of letting it draft your entire loan application. LOL, what is happening? I don't know, Anthony. But Mike King does. He went on a journey at iPullRank on Twitter. I asked Bard to give me the page rank for the iPullRank agency blog, and it did. Then I asked it to give me the PR, page rank, for Search Engine Land, and it said no, because PR is no longer public. I asked it where it got the PR for the IPR blog, and it said it got it from Moz. And Mike has the receipts.
Moz has domain authority. So it is not even close to a 10, right? It's
I
out of
don't know.
100.
They explained it. They said, Bard said the page rank of the first URL I provided came from a website called Moz. Moz is a company that provides SEO tools and services, yada, 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 tries to explain itself. But the receipts are here. Mike posts the answer to all of the questions. And I just love when he said, why did you give me PageRank for the last URL after it said it's no longer public? It started with, I apologize for the confusion. I am still under development. And I just feel like that is how we should start everything, Bard, until you figure it out. Because you're just out there spitting information as fact. Had Mike stopped there, he would have stopped there. We're supposed to just start everything with, I'm not sure if this is accurate. I am still learning. Thank you for using me. Be my friend. Do something to set this up, because Mike is doing the Lord's work and showing this to people. But if you're not listening, if you're not seeing this stuff, you're just going to take all this as gospel, and God save us. And that brings us to our real life segment, straight out of our accounts and into your ear holes. It's time for Working Hard or Hardly Working, where we talk about what's going on in our IRL work, good, bad, or otherwise.
All right, this week, working hard or hardly working. What's it for you, Jess?
Oh, well, I think most of us, at least around this table, know the hack. But just in case folks don't, if you get access to a document and you can't share access to said Google Doc with your team that needs to see it, because you're not the owner, you could just make a copy of the thing and share it with whoever you want. And unfortunately, we've had to do that a lot. And it's handy to know, What about you, Nicole?
So I have another editor working hard. I have a client that has 2 ad accounts because they're paying in different currencies, and I wanted to make a copy of one campaign and put it in the other account, and you can do that. But what's nice is that Google Ads Editor is smart, surprise, and will warn you that you're copying a campaign from one account to another, and it will give you all the reasons why.
Like the currency and stuff?
Yeah.
Nice.
That is nice.
Wow.
So you can't really it's hard to make a mistake if you're working with different clients and you're an agency and you have Google Ads Editor, but also handy when you want to copy over campaigns.
Nice. And something working hard for me was launching a bunch of new campaigns in Microsoft Ads, and I wanted to get these to target return on ad spend. A lot of times I've seen in the past, it hasn't worked out of the gate very well. We took this like really low tier with like low profit margin. Everything else we're bidding eCPC till we get actual revenue volume in there. But the ones that we just kind of flipped on and like let it whirl, that didn't really, they're not huge products for us. They actually started working well off the bat. And I haven't seen that in a while. I'm not saying it's going to work for you, but it was something that I'd always been averse to testing, is starting out of the gate with T-RAWs. And in this case, many of them worked and actually were spending, which was always the problem I saw in the past. You just wouldn't see that spend.
And now for this week's
Cool Tool.
As a reminder, our Cool Tool segment is not an official endorsement or paid mention. We're simply sharing something we found in our travels that may be of use to our listeners. And is really, really cool.
This week's cool tool is for anyone existing that manages local listings. It's GMB Spy, a Chrome extension for doing competitor research across Google business profiles. So once enabled, you can use GMB Spy to see the current categories associated with a specific profile. And it can also be used to discover common themes amongst categories for specific searches. So we're talking a CSV file with the business names and all associated categories for the top 20 search results for any Google Maps or local finder search query. Really handy for all the brick and mortar business owners out there, as well as the local SEOs. So as always, we'll have the link in our newsletter, marketingclock.com/newsletter, and on Discord, community.marketingclock.com. So pick your poison and check it out.
Now it's time for our must-read marketing article of the week. An article so advanced, so in-depth, so detailed that we simply cannot cover it in its entirety on today's show.
This week's must-read marketing article of the week comes from the one and only Simo Ahava on simoahava.com. And this is called Dear Google Analytics 4. And Simo goes in to write a letter, not only to Google Analytics 4, but to agencies, to people that really promote it and are advocates and things like that. And I've got a couple of select passages. I highly recommend you read this. He says, I owe my career to Google Analytics. Goes on to say, whatever success I've achieved over the past 15 years or so can be directly attributed to my work at GA and by extension, other cool tools in the Google stack. Looking back at Universal Analytics on the eve of its final collection, Ping is undoubtedly bittersweet because what is being proposed as a replacement just doesn't cut it. Google Analytics 4 has bugs, cardinality issues, thresholding problems, confusing delineation between client-side and vendor-side processing, a clumsy BigQuery export schema, misleading and gullible advocates, an opaque approach to privacy, and a huge identity problem. So his main point was that the community isn't there anymore at GA4. And he pulls in a comment section, and all these people are trying to problem solve something in GA4. And he says, what little revelation or celebration there is. It's always focused on making GA4 meet the lowest level of expectation. And he's just showing people like just trying to get something to work.
So defeated.
And he goes out and it's talking to agencies and site owners and says, remember that the Google Analytics 4 is not the only option that you have to replace UA. As it turns out, there are lots of analytics tools out there. With Universal Analytics being deprecated/depreciated and no way of actually migrating your analytics data to GA4, it seems like right now is the best time to ever shop around. You must do this. Be responsible. Don't waste countless hours in trying to make GA4 work for your organization when there might be a more suitable tool just around the corner. And there's much more. So check it out, simoahava.com. Thank you, Simo.
And now on to our playlist of curated songs to work to, which you can find over at playlist.marketingoclock.com. What's going on the Spotify Marketing O playlist this week, Greg?
So for me, I've got, just pump this right in my veins, Old Money by Lana Del Rey.
Oh.
Pump it right in.
Lana Summer.
I mean, I have a Lana song this week too.
No, you don't.
I do. I screwed up last week, by the way. My apologies for adding a song Shep had already added, but now it's on there twice. My Lana Del Rey pick this week was Hope is a Dangerous Thing for a Woman Like Me to Have, but I have it. Nicole?
Love that song. Love both those songs. My song is not Lana. It's Rumble by Skrillex, Fred Again, and Flodan.
Same thing.
All right, that does it for today's show.
It is now officially not Marketing O'Clock.
Thanks for listening.
We miss you already.
Can't wait to see you next week.
Thanks for listening to Marketing O'Clock. If you're looking for more information on today's topics, head over to marketingoclock.com/newsletter to receive every single article we covered. We share the news as it breaks in our Discord community. Head over to community.marketingoclock.com to join.
Welcome to this week's Shootin the Heck, where after our famous Friday news shows, we don't talk about marketing anymore. We just
Shoot the heck.
And this week, we're playing everyone's favorite game, Travel Buddies. This is where the whole team has to decide an answer, right? Nicole, Tables, and Jess. You're going on a global excursion across the world with one of two types of people. You get to choose who your travel buddy is. There's a right answer and a wrong answer. I don't think your track record's very good at this yet.
We have never gotten it right, not once.
Well, here we go. Today's a new day.
We'll see.
Who do you choose to travel with as your travel buddy? Somebody that sneezes all the time or somebody that burps all the time?
Sneezes.
I agree. Sneezes.
Oh, it depends on what your sneeze sounds like. Because if you're one of those people that like has a tiny like achoo, you know, but some people scream sneeze and it's scary.
Yeah, but burping, what if you're stuck in like a gondola and the person's just burping in your face?
You gotta pick. There's a right answer here.
Yeah.
I like sneezing better.
Yeah.
I'll take the risk.
Sneezing.
Okay, sneezing is correct.
What?
No, wait. What? Sorry. 2020, it was amended. It's burping now. It was the correct answer up until 2020 when you can't go anywhere globally.
Did that on purpose.
You can't go anywhere and sneeze. That's the worst possible. Imagine that. You're going in a different country and somebody's sneezing all over the place. You're going to get locked right up. It's here on the paper. After 2020, the correct answer has been officially turned to burping.
Wrote it on the paper, and burping has been offensive since the world began.
But it doesn't kill people. You're out there
That's
trying
debatable.
to kill people.
That's debatable.
Incorrect. You're incorrect on that. Who are you going on your trip with? Somebody
I'm going alone.
that absolutely loves and won't stop drinking Mr. Pibb, or somebody that loves their favorite drink is Squirt.
What is
Who are you choosing?
What's the first drink?
It's a Dr. Pepper knockoff.
Oh,
Mr. Pibb.
Mr. Pibb.
or squirt.
If you can't stop drinking Mr. Pibb, you're like stuck in a certain geographical area, so you're not traveling with this person. I feel like Squirt is more widely available.
Their personality.
I know, but like if they can't stop, they can't travel without their Mr. Pibb. So you either need to drive wherever you're going or it needs to
stock
be
up.
available. Yeah.
You bring it with you.
You can't fly with a case of Pibb, can you?
But it's the person. Pretend there's none of it there. You just have to choose the person.
The essence of the person.
Yes.
First person sounds fun. I've never heard of this drink before, but Dr. Pepper's knockoff, yeah.
I mean, if it's an essence thing, yeah. But I
Yeah.
feel like I went hard pro Squirt, so
What's the final answer,
we gotta-
Tables?
we'll
What do
let
y'all
Tables-
say?
Going with the Squirt.
Okay, final answer, Squirt?
Yes.
You got a reason?
Okay.
I mean, I feel like people who like love Dr. Pepper, that's a certain special person. And then if they love knockoff Dr. Pepper, it's just another level. So I'm just gonna go Squirt.
Okay. That seems like it's the right answer, right? There's a lot of pros.
Yeah.
They like citrus. Probably not going to have scurvy out there on your trip, right? Might have less gout coming your way. But if you can handle Mr. Pibb, you have an immense flavor palette. And there are going to be people that want to go to different restaurants, try different things. If they love Mr. Pibb, they're going to love wherever the hell you take them. You'll be able to take them wherever you want to. Correct answer, Mr. Pibb. Next up, people that you have to choose who to get here. Somebody that will wait to try to merge until the very last second, fly by the merge line and try to get in, or somebody that's in the merge line and lets too many people in every time.
Ooh.
Which person are you traveling with?
The former, I think.
Yeah.
Because you want someone who's on time, full of energy, gonna bring liveliness to the trip. If somebody's being letting people in on a daily basis, great. Commuting, cool. But when you're traveling, I'm not waiting around for that person to hold the door for everyone or let people go ahead of them.
100% concur, and just can't wait to hear you argue this the opposite.
Tables, do you agree? Everybody final answer on this?
Yes, I also agree.
That is the correct answer for US-based travel only. If you're in the
just
US,
always
it's fine.
have to qualify.
If you go with that person that's cutting people off, waiting, being rude, you're going to start an international incident.
What
and I
happens
don't want
to
that
the
to
rule
happen.
where
to you.
the behavior is not happening on the trip? You change that rule for
This
round.
person is going to cut in every
They are
line.
not.
You're going to try to get an ice cream at Euro Disney, and they're going to bump in line. You're going to get locked up.
You're
I
not
want to
getting a
keep you
Mr.
out of
Pibb
jail.
at Euro
You want to
Disney.
be in jail. That's what
I
it
mean,
comes down to.
Yes.
Okay. All right. And lastly, people that litter, or so it's a person that just litters, or you have a person that just spits everywhere all the time. You're like traveling with an alpaca, right? This person just spitting everywhere. Who do you choose?
It depends where you're traveling. I feel
You're
like there's places
across
with
the world.
really harsh litter. No, because you just qualified something as U.S. based
This
travel.
is Travel Buddies. I said
Yeah.
you had the right answer if you were going on a U.S. trip, but you
But
forgot
it's
the
across
rules.
the world.
Yeah.
I don't know the rules. I think I want the spitter.
No. I feel like that would be more socially acceptable.
Yeah, I want the spitter. I don't get down with people who litter at all.
Okay. You're also correct. Hey, 2020 changed.
Oh, we
It
forgot.
changed in 2020. There was an easy hint for you there. Littering, like, you might just have to pay a fine, right? If you're spitting all over people in a different country, you are going to get locked away.
We're not spitting on people.
You just- The person spitting everywhere.
Also, since what is this guilty by association? We're just getting locked up for somebody sneezing. We're getting locked up for spit.
Yeah. I want you to make good decisions, and I can't help that you just constantly, week after week, choose poor ones. And that was it. We'll see you next week.